Hello YouTube, and I'm back online. After a short break, I would like to continue my exploration into Tier 1 Abyss. I'm doing calm electrical Abyss encounters with this mostly Tech 1 fitted Rapture. And so you can see here I use Tech 1 guns, and well, these Tech 2 nanofibers, they are available to everyone because of very low skill requirements, and then I use Tech 2 weapon mods, and everything else. Unkiller shield boosters are Tech 1 obviously, because there is no Tech 2 version. Afterburners are Tech 1, and even rigs are Tech 1. And as you can see, this whole feat in Jita costs something around 22 million ISK, including faction ammunition, which is like 1/4 of the price. I'm doing this with faction ammunition because Abyss is such type of encounter where you want to have this extra kick for 10% of DPS, and because it's really worth it there, because you have those extra seconds or minutes that you can spend actually looting stuff and getting even more. But so far I have not been very successful in doing this. My first run I have got my Rapture with a little bit different feat. I had active electromagnetic resist, and I was trying dark environment, which has different bonuses than electric. And yeah, there I had a problem hitting targets, I had problem escaping from targets, so I didn't like that. I exploded. Yeah, I thought that I would be killed in the first pocket, but in reality I managed the first one, but I took so much time that I had no time, and then I had 2 consecutive pockets with very high DPS that I was not able to tank. So the first one I somehow managed, and the second one finished me off. After that I refitted myself, and I have made 2 successful runs into electric. The difference between dark and electric is that in dark you have penalty applied to turret fall-off and optimal range, and at the same time you get bonus to capacitor recharge rate. Basically you double your rate of regeneration, and at the same time in dark you get bonus to speed, the maximum speed of your ship, not agility but just speed, and it's 50%. The problem is that this also applies to NPCs, and they have high speeds already, so this shrinks things a lot in the environment. And at the same time, electric filament and actually all other 4 types of environments, they are having completely different type of penalty, which is applied to resistance. So each of those 4 has one of the resistances decreased. In case of electric, we have electromagnetic resistance decreased. So we are fitting a ship that does not have any electromagnetic resistance, because why would we have it? Because whenever you have it, it will be reduced. When you have 0, there is nothing to reduce, so this penalty doesn't apply to the ship at all. And instead of having an additional electromagnetic resist, I initially had this Tech 1 compact shield boost amplifier, which was adding 30% to the active shield boosting by Unkiller shield boosters. But then I had struggles with small ships. I was not able to efficiently damage them, so I decided to go on with Stasis Vaporfire instead, because I do have this extra tank. So let's continue with this testing. Let's go to another calm electrical filament and see what other encounters are there. Will this Rapture manage to actually do every single one of them, or will there be some enemies that will eventually kill us? So far, even with successful runs, I actually had such a little profit. I had something around 2 million per run, so even if I assume that I had not wasted any ammunition any faction ammunition, which is what I did actually, I used a lot of it, even then it's just like 6-7 million ISK per hour, which is virtually nothing. But let's see, maybe I was just very unlucky with drops. And let's reload ammunition. Yes, and of course, because the electric environment and other 3 environments that penalize resistances, this penalty applies to also enemies. And this means that whenever you are running any specific environment, you want to have this damage type on your guns or ammunition. So you should not really waste your time shooting anything else, anything with non-electromagnetic and electric, except for some rare cases. Those are well described in EVE University pages for abyssal spaces, and there you can check a short list of ships that you might memorize, but in general you are pretty safe just shooting with electromagnetic and electric, or any other weakness shooting type of ammo. And I think you are not allowed to actually use filaments inside JITA, because JITA is such a very special system. It is allocated on a special node where you can basically, where every single resource is dedicated to handling a lot of people which do trading. This is due to shared nature of EVE Online. JITA is a single server because of sheer amount of people who constantly are there. And because of that, all other activities in that system are pretty much forbidden. So you have to go out to another cluster, to another server. Okay, so first of all, don't forget to move and activate. And let's see, where do we end up? And yes, of course, I have this Rapture insured for the sake, because I cannot really bet that I would last, say, 20-30 runs without losing the ship. And if you do that, normally you would do 20-30 maybe in a week. Okay, so we have more frigates. Okay, we are again in this red pocket. Red pocket is basically our bane, such bad thing that for us to be there. Okay, we're not exactly affected by it, but we are very close. So let's fly away. The red pocket decreases the rate of shield boosting, or actually it increases the interval and decreases the amount. So in our case it's really hurting us when we do end up, for some reason, whatever reason, in the red clouds. Otherwise the ship is pretty safe. For example, it is not affected by energy neutralization, more or less. You of course will end up without afterburner, but that's sort of the only effect that you will feel. Okay, the first one is down. Yeah, and then yeah, stasis baby fire doesn't doesn't take much, and yeah, you can see one of the frigates tries to neutralize us, but since we're not actually using a lot of energy, the effect of that is nothing. I will disable overheating. Normally you would want to overheat this cycle to cycle, because you don't cycle them continuously. As you can see, they are pretty much instantly replenishing our shields. But instead you will just take some damage, run one cycle with overheating, and then... Okay, we stopped heating it because we are so close. Yeah, and then once you are once you are down again, and once you have boosted yourself, you can then wait for some time and let the modules and your rack cool down. If you don't know how this overheating mechanic works in EVE Online, it's basically that you will have every module, when it's overheated, contributing to this bar, this heat status. And the higher is this heat status bar, the higher is the risk that on every cycle a random module in that rack will be damaged. The amount of damage is basically per your skill, and the amount of damage that individual module can withstand, it is based on these structure hit points. So basically, normally you want to have thermodynamics 3-4, but in principle, if you just need that, and running abyssal space without thermodynamics is a no-no, you will not be able to clean it in many cases because of that. Yeah. For that, you just need level 1 to be able to overheat modules. Normally, the effect of thermodynamics skill is not that noticeable. For example, guns can be overheated safely for 5-6 cycles easily. What you cannot say, for example, about the shield booster modules, for example. Those are contributing a lot of heat. Okay, let's check this container and then go back to the gate. I think we are safe within 20 minutes limit, at least on this occasion. What else? Yeah, of course you want to reload your ammunition and these before every pocket. Normally you will have enough. For example, in this case, my shooting rate is about 3 seconds and I have 120 charges loaded. So basically I'm guaranteeing that I will not run out of charges within 5 minutes. And since you have only 20 to complete all 3 pockets, it's roughly 5 plus a little bit. So normally you will have you will not have to reload, at least in this setup, assuming that you start with full rack before every pocket. And you can see also that I have a little bit of unrecovered shield, so I will do 1 cycle and waste 1 minute reloading, because I do have time, because before I get to the gate. In this case it's 42 seconds with my maximum speed of 600. That's about 1 minute. Plus you have some time while you are transitioning between different pockets. What do we have here? Well, 1.1 million so far. Well, that's better than in previous runs. Let's see what we'll have in the other pockets. You can see here the effects. So in our case it's 50% capacitor recharge bonus, which we don't actually use because we don't have much of active tanking, but in practice that's actually useful even here, because if you run out of charges before you trigger manual reload, if you have set auto reload on off, as I do, then you have option to actually cycle these boosters in capacitor consuming mode. Then they will, instead of using a battery, they will instead use capacitor. They are very inefficient. They are like 25% less efficient than normal large shield booster. But in an emergency, if you are running out of batteries, but you still for some reason have capacitor, in my case I have some reserve every time, unless I am neutralized heavily, then I can, or you can, boost your shields with that. And since it is a large shield booster, which is basically designed to handle large ships, not medium ships, you can see that it's not really a problem. So okay, we have 2 cruisers here, and we have short range deviant automated suppressor, so we will not be able to use drones. Not a problem for us, because we don't really use anyway. I think this Lancer is something that deals more damage, or actually at the moment doesn't matter. Okay, they do a lot of damage. Let's orbit it at 2500 and web it. I hope we can do something. To reduce damage with this way. Yeah, as you can see, I have just used 7 cycles non-stop, and yeah, then I switched to capacitor, and now I will reload it. I'm messing this up a little bit, but it was a question of me surviving this first interval. Now I can switch to another one because one is dead, so I have half a damage in theory, and if everything goes well, then maybe everything will be now missing me because I will be orbiting the other guy. And I will disable this. Unfortunately, you cannot choose to run these with capacitor while you have any charges in them. So you have to basically trigger the situation in which you don't want to be in the first place. It glances off of me. I graze him. Well, never mind, I will just keep at range 2.5. And let's use those 3 up. %30 resistance drop might feel like nothing, but since you basically have, because resistances are basically in denominator of the equation, you will end up in a very bad situation if you have like reliability on resistances, like you have very high resistance, like 90%, and then you cut 30% off of 90, you end up with, well, 90 minus 27, about 63, and this means that your damage grew up from 1 over 10% to 1 over 37% by a factor of 3.7. That's a lot. And NPCs tend to have very high resistances in the abyssal space, so I wouldn't say they rely on it, because they don't rely on anything. I will do this extraction node and bioadaptive cache this time. I also have enough time. You can see some damage that has been allocated to my shield booster and afterburner. That's very little numbers, 3% and 6%. Basically, I think 1 hit point each of them got. Actually, maybe this one got 2, but never mind. That's really nothing. And we only need to survive 1 more pocket. What else? Pfft. Trash. And then go back and no point in reloading guns yet, because we're going to shoot 1 more time at bioadaptive cache. As you can see, the whole Abyss thing at this level, when you don't have any huge overtank or overkill damage in your ship, when you have very little resources, then yeah, it's a bit of a random. You might end up with enemies that are very easy to kill, like those frigates, for example, in our case, are just easy peasy. They come into the 10-kilometer range and they die, and that's before they manage to do any decent DPS. And then those cruisers were really bad, because basically I would say that the amount of damage that they were dealing was not sustainable in this fleet. Of course, it probably would have taken them, I don't know, more than 5 minutes to kill me. But that is a question of whether I was able to kill them in the first place. And in some cases you might end up in a situation where you will not be. And you will have to rely on drones, which in my case do like, I don't know, 20-30 DPS probably, because of very low skills. And this is a problem. And yeah, this is like, I don't know, all in all, my 10th, 20th run of Abyssal Space at all, including those that I have done 2 years ago, when Abyssal Space just have been introduced. So I don't have much experience, and I don't really know by heart which targets are really dangerous and which ones are not, and what every ship has in their sleeve. Maybe learning this would be a useful thing. Okay, just devoted knight. Okay, Sancha. Let's see. Multi-body tracking. Actually, I think it sounds like I need to go there, because it is possible that this one... Yeah, and I can start shooting at it. Can I? No. Okay. Since the damage is quite high, let's drop drones to make sure that we can do at least some damage against it. And let's boost our shield. I hope I can catch it. The damage that I get is ridiculous, really. Maybe I need to somehow make sure that I'm not... Yeah, if I let it hit me, then it gets really bad. Is it a death for me? Let's see. I hope Afterburner can do something. Okay, I can catch it. And let's see if orbiting.
The capacitor is empty.
Okay, maybe I will be dead. Wow, that was very close. What do we have here? So, need to position my head. Okay, one extraction node, one bioadaptive cache, and I have 4 minutes. Okay, I guess I will do this one and this one. What was that? I got combat level 3. Okay, nothing. It almost feels like killing this kind of enemies. You want to have a kill mail for that. What's here? Maximum velocity. Wow, nice. Probably want to shut down Afterburner because otherwise I might overshoot something. Or not. And nothing. That was annoying. How much time? 3 minutes. Yeah, as you have noticed, this Devoted Knight had some kind of very high orbit intentions, like scripted into its AI, so I was really in trouble because my guns were not able to shoot that far. I don't think that my drones did much either, but probably they confused the AI a little bit, so I was able to approach it. And before that, yeah, as you have noticed, it was wrecking me. I don't really know, probably need to install some kind of log analyzer to see how much damage I was getting and with what damage types. Okay, and we are out, and we have 2.1 million ISK. It starts getting really repetitive, this number, so 1.5 to 2.5 million ISK is basically what I would say you should expect per run. And that's really bad. I would still go on with Disruptor probably until I get it destroyed, just to see what kind of encounters are there as well. But yeah, otherwise it feels like I want to have artillery as well, not only just autocannons. But it will be problematic really in many ways. having different gun types and that will shoot at different optimal range is always a problem in EVE Online. You will lose damage in one or the other way. Unfortunately, these NPC, yeah, they do a lot of trouble, because some of them will try to get very close, some of them will try to orbit very far away, and they are in many cases just faster than you, so you have no say in where you are. It is basically the worst kind of PvP you can be in, when you have no control over your distance in PvP encounters, and if, well, you are basically at the mercy of your opponent picking up the best distance for them, like they will be at the optimal range of their guns, or outside of optimal range, or even fall off of your guns, or so close to you that you will not be able to track them, and so on. And the worst part is that if you have no control over distance, then your enemy, in the worst case for them, will just run away, because they will just go to a high orbit and then warp out, because they will be outside of disruptor range or scramble range.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Just checking the insurance. Oh no, actually I think I didn't have this one insured, I had the one that exploded. But never mind. It's fixed now. I need more. First of all, I need more EMPs, which I used up. Okay, here I need to change to immediate, because this is annoying. Probably go for simple. What? Okay, never mind. Use the old interface. So I need 500 just to restock, and you can see this 1/4 of our income from this mission. And I would say it would be really high risk to run this without better DPS that this Republic Fleet EMPs offer. And then these I need. Okay, I already have them in my cargo. Just plug in. Calm Exotic, Calm Firestorm, Firestorm Gamma. I need Calm Electrical once again. And let's fly.
Warp drive active.
And I have opened EVE University pages in the background, so that where they are. Yeah, now they're here, so that I can see what kind of enemies I'm encountering. Maybe, for example, with Sunshine Nation, Knight, heavy damage dealer, yeah, high range and high tracking, great. What to do with this kind of stuff, seriously? Because basically this says that it will neutralize you, it will webify you, and it will do a lot of damage at any range and with very good tracking. And can start applying damage to you even if you have just landed in the bucket. So basically this is kind of encounters that should have killed me, probably. There are some encounters in Abyss that were basically designed to be don't bring your Blini ship inside type of encounter. So they are going to kill you regardless of whether you are flying a poorly fitted, poorly skilled Tech 1 cruiser with Tech 1 fit, or if you are going to bring in pirate cruiser with some Blini, I don't know, officer modules, which is ridiculous, nobody does that, but yeah, you can bring in abyssal modules, which are basically what is the reward for this kind of activity. You get items that allow you to reroll stats on modules. Those basically create unique items with random chance of success. And the more you can run them, the higher is the chance that you will get something really valuable. The problem is that you cannot really trade them outside of contracts, so it's really difficult to monetize this kind of activity. Activate. And I will preheat this one this time. Basically, shift left clicking makes it overheated on the next cycle when I start it. So yeah, Abyssal Space is supposed to be like a risk management thing, where you are deciding which ship you are going to bring and what encounters you will eventually lose. And then you have to optimize and make sure that you get good ISK per hour, or even if you lose sometimes. The problem is that it really doesn't work this way. There are some fits and some ships in some combinations of encounters. Again, electricals I think are one of the most popular ones because of the way shield tanking works. And yeah. This whole thing makes it very, very, very unreliable, except for most of the feats, except for those which are, well, they can handle, I don't know, maybe 95% of encounters reliably, and then other 5% sometimes, so they just live with that risk, and they may fit 5 billion ISK in the ship. And the problem is that once you have some ship, one single ship that can reliably run most of the encounters most of the time, then you basically motivate people to invest even more money into that ship. And every additional ISK yields, even though very small, but still some kind of improvement, and that makes it even easier for it to run and succeed. So this is basically an ISK runaway situation. And this is a problem in many types of EVE Online content. For example, when I started playing EVE, people would run on nullsec anomalies in, well, battleships maybe, definitely not in capital ships. But then they accumulated enough money and they massively switched to those, and then they established large empires that basically made sure that nobody will hurt those capital ships, because it's otherwise very easy. If you run a small pirate group that can access nullsec space reliably, if you are not, let's say, actively prevented from reaching those systems, if you don't have to fly 50 jumps nullsec to get to the closest carrier, that is, then you will have very easy time destroying a carrier, because basically you just need one tackler, one dedicated ship that can hold it in place, and then you can just bring extra damage. And you have infinite amount of time to do that, because there is no limit on how long a ship can be tackled. Actually, I think this is one of the flaws in EVE Online game design. Maybe instead of making for people the ability to tank, well, not to tank, but to tackle you with warp disruptors and scramblers for infinite amount of time effectively, it would have been more interesting if it was like time limited. For example, a tackler arrives and then you have 10 minute interval during which you cannot really go anywhere under no conditions, but then it expires and you get immunity to warp disruption for the next, I don't know, 30 seconds, 1 minute, and you're able to escape or log off even. Okay, I can reload. The first extraction node was empty, as you have noticed. Again, very annoying. I cannot laugh enough because these 4 2v2 destroyers proving filament costing 45 is something. I probably want to go there and check out this, but I will need to find someone to fly with me. Because in PvP you really want to have a good teammate. Okay, Spark Needle. All of them Spark Needles, which means that all of them do electromagnetic damage, which is bad. But do we have, what do we have? Yeah, we have Automata Suppressor. Let's go there. Maybe I will have, no, I won't have enough time to get away from them. So just ignore it. And let's just destroy them as they arrive. This is actually true for all NPCs in EVE Online, regardless of how complicated is the AI. You are able to shoot them very easily when they approach you. And I'm picking the closest one, obviously, and I try to assist myself with Webifier when they are already within 10 kilometers range. I would say these spawns are really not that challenging now that the Webifier is available. It was really a pain when I ran this second time. But Webifier plus Afterburner, basically you can see that their velocity under Webifier is below what is mine velocity. And basically whenever I start webbing them and shooting at them at the same time, they have to force themselves into flying straight towards me. And this causes their angular velocity to drop very dramatically. I will not even specifically target this one, so where is the exit? Okay, it's there. Let's go this way. And let's approach this extraction node, and yeah, once it's in range, let's destroy that one. This is standard kiting. You just need to ensure that you can make your speed, well, if not larger than the speed of NPC, but at least very much comparable. Like with this 600, I would say if I can web to 800, then it would be fine. Ah, well, this asteroid is not depleted. That's second pocket and I have still 12 minutes. Yeah, this is getting easier and easier with every run, I guess. I guess you get experience with that. Maybe I was a little bit over pessimistic about not being able to run tier 2, for example, with this ship, but I'm frankly very certain that you cannot. Maybe I need to test it, but definitely not this time. After all, the whole point of this is to learn as much as possible about different encounters while running this easy side and see how NPCs behave and which ones of them deal a lot of damage. And then as far as I know, in most cases, like those tiers basically just scale things up, like more damage, more ships, less time. Well, the time is the same, but you need to kill more things, but in the same amount of time, so you run out of time to loot very quickly. I would say that if you do things under, like, on the edge of your capacity, you should not have this much time left. which means that we have reserve. But then this kind of encounters with devoted knights, those are something. If those will happen more or less often, then I don't know what to do, because basically, yeah, with this income per run, with 2 million, it's gonna, this case I have only 500,000 ISK yet from almost 2 pockets. It's not worth it to risk even like Tech 2 hull, not to mention pirate hulls or any Blini designs. And that's why many people play Abyss on test server. When you are on Omega, you can, well, from time to time your clone will be copied onto the test server, and then you can go there and test things. And that's what I would definitely recommend you if you want to run things of a higher tier than what you are definitely capable of. Probably you cannot do that when you are just starting, because basically your clone is not here, there, or even if it is, then it will have so outdated skills that you will not be able to do anything anyway, compare anything. Okay, 1 million in total. And I got another column electrical. Free entry. And yeah, you definitely want to have at least 100 million ISK, or even 120, 150 million ISK in assets before you even try doing these Abyss sites, because you will die. If you don't have enough experience in EVE Online, then you will die even faster than I did in the first time. And yeah, it takes some experience to understand that, okay, this is a battleship. If you see a battleship, you understand that it will do so much damage that you can never tank it on a cruiser. And because of that, it means that I automatically start approaching it using this side, basically side vector, to make sure that it doesn't hit me. Lucid, Deep Watcher. Let's see what it says here. This is a sleeper drone. Deep Watcher target painting. That's nothing. Well, okay, it's actually a lot if you consider that we are trying to speed tank it. Oh, sorry, yeah, speed and signature tank it, so it will hurt us. Whoa, 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 that's a lot of damage. Let's pump our afterburner and start shooting, and then deploy acolytes. Also let's hope that it hates drones more than us. And let's keep our module cycling, and then reload, and then preheat, and orbit at, well, 1 kilometer. And probably now we can safely disable afterburner. As you can see now, it started to miss us, right? Right? Does it? Does it miss us? Or, yeah, misses us completely. Great. Whew, now we're safe. And yeah, and you can see this kind of experience you get by playing a lot of different content. And if I got my experience handling battleships from, well, 10 years ago, when I was doing level 5 missions. Those are basically low-sec missions run by Navy agents mostly, and those missions give you a lot of reward, more like 3, 4, 5 times reward of level 4 mission. Those were initially designed, I think, to be run by groups of players, but then eventually players, well, basically power creep made its way, and people were able to run those, for example, in carriers. In my case, I was able to first do them in Tech 3 battle cruisers, basically passively tanked Tengus. At that time were capable of sustaining all the damage that you can get from such missions, and then passive tanked Proteus also was able to do that, but that was slow. And instead I basically developed my second character, this Unkind Omen character, which was basically stealth bomber pilot. Stealth bombers are frigate-sized ships that can actually feed battleship-sized torpedoes. So they have, well, I would not say battleship-sized DPS, but almost that. So they are very efficient. And the problem, as a drawback, because it's a frigate, you cannot really sustain any tank, like at all. One shot from battleship and you have lost all of your shield and half of your armor, and then second one destroys you completely. So in order to fly those, even in those level 5 encounters, which were actually much easier than this Abyss space, you need to learn how to approach battleship on a small ship. And those ships actually were, well, I wouldn't say similar, they were about twice as fast. So those were frigates with afterburners, and you would do exactly the same, except that you would have not a single battleship, but like a group of 5, 10 of them. And you will have to basically, pick your fights and pick trajectories. So in this case I am able to just approach it and orbit it, but if you have a group of ships, then you have to manually locate yourself and manually select direction in which you go. I have made something similar when I was running level 3 signature, St. Purchase warehouse, and I was doing that in Thrasher, obviously without any tank, well, any significant tank, only ancillary shield boosters, and it was not designed for that, obviously. It was difficult, and I had to do a lot of evasion from cruisers and then frigates and then other ships, so yeah, this kind of approach. But there I was mostly distance tanking, actually. But I will probably at some point upload this video if I have it, if I didn't lose it. And of course, if you are interested. But yeah, as I have told, Abyssal Space is something to test your skills. Actually, there is easier version. There is T0 Abyssal Space, which is supposed to be like almost a training site. I don't know, maybe I need to have a look at it and see how this particular ship handles T0, because if it handles very reliably, because we actually have extra tank, we have a lot of extra tank, which we're, I think, not supposed to have with this ship, and with the skills. Okay, finally. What do we have in time? 4 minutes. Yeah, as you can see, even though we have quite a lot of DPS in our guns and a lot of Tech 2 damage modules, it took a lot of time to kill that battleship. This is one of the one other challenge of those battleships. They're quite tanky and they're basically acting as your, well, I wouldn't say time sink, but sort of DPS test. So when you are looting in Abyssal Space, think if it's going to be a battleship in there, and then you might run out of time because you looted for some extra minutes. Okay, 58 kilometers, 3 minutes. We will have enough time to go there and return back to the conduit. Unless we disconnect, of course. Again, this is a boring part. I wish they made some kind of auto loot button that would automatically compute how much you have left in terms of time and ammunition, and just speed run this, because this is annoying. This whole Abyssal experience is actually like one of the most engaging in EVE Online, really, because you always are under pressure. You need to decide what to do here and here and here, and how you handle this NPC and this NPC and this type, and combinations. Well, I wouldn't say infinite, but there is a very huge variation. And sometimes you will end up with different sequence of 3 pockets, and some of those combinations are deadly on themselves, on their own, because you will have like this. For example, I lost 33% of my armor. I cannot regenerate it, I don't have armor repair module. So if I had 3 of these battleships in a chain, then I would have had a lot of trouble. So in theory, just very, very bad luck with me having these same 3 encounters as I had right now would have killed me. But let's hope that we are not going to get that. Basically, when I did my first run, that's what killed me. I got second encounter with very tough battlecruiser, and then my third pocket was exactly the same thing. I knew that I would die the moment I'd enter it, because, well, I have just seen what it can do to me in terms of damage and what I can do to kill it, and how much time and effort it takes, so... But it was worth a try. By the way, if you have any questions about EVE Online, or if you want me to talk about something specific, or if you want me to make some video tutorial about something specific, you can leave comments in the chat, or basically anywhere. You can send me a message if you don't want to say things in public. I would be really happy to hear some feedback about this whole thing. And yeah, you can see there is this repair to option. This is, if you don't know, you can carry special item that's called nanite paste, and this is basically resource that you can consume to repair your damaged by overheating modules while in space. The drawback is that it is really, really expensive, and it is produced by planetary interaction, so it's not going any cheaper because some people got a lot of different capitals.
Warp drive active.
This is a standard effect that you get when you're exiting abyssal space, because basically otherwise you would be able to just warp to a location and be safe there, for example under your citadel guns. I wouldn't say that you will not be safe there if you just warp there, because really you will not be able to be tethered, but you probably still be able to be docked, and the most important part, the guns of citadels will still shoot at whoever will try to hit at you, so this helps.
Warp drive active.
Let's buy more of these. You cannot place buy orders remotely if you don't have a skill, but you can actually buy things. So this means that I can just open existing orders and select them and buy from that existing order. I cannot create a new one. But you normally don't want to do that, because if you have no skills for basically broker relationships and tax management, you really don't want to set up orders anymore in EVE Online yourself. The broker will eat 5% of whatever you sell or buy, and that's a lot. And then similarly, additionally to that, tax. But tax will hit you anyway. If you are selling something, if you are buying, then it hits the seller. But if you are even buying materials remotely like that, then you will still have problems from broker. I need to get 500 probably. Let's add cup boosters to the limit. Let's repair our ship, don't forget to do that. That's much cheaper than using repair paste. Of course, yeah, 173,000 ISK went to repairing hull. That's expensive. And let's load everything else in cargo. Okay, good. More or less ready.
Warp drive active.
And here we go again. Every time you go into abyssal space, it feels like you are just, well, suiciding your ship. Because it is. And you should treat it that way. You really should not bring anything into Abyss that you would be like very upset to lose. For starters, because that will happen eventually. And second cause is because you really if you cannot handle this kind of situation, then it would be just very negative experience for you. On the other hand, if you are okay with losing your ships, then there are actually other activities that you can take. For example, going into wormhole space and doing some wormhole gas or gas mining or exploration, because basically both of them mean that you might get ganked, because wormhole space is really difficult. In wormhole space it's really difficult to ensure your 100% survivability, but then the reward that you get, especially as a new player, for the ship that you can bring there, like in terms of expense for that hull, it's really high. Yesterday I was actually running into nullsec to test how well you can explore in nullsec under the same assumption that I will just take a 2 million ISK frigate that I'm not, well, which is not expensive for me to lose, and I have nothing in my pod, so whoever kills me, I just get back to the high security space immediately and continue from there. And yeah, I have flown there and I tried and I got some 60 million ISK in loot. I brought it out, and yeah, in reality I think that wormholes probably still much more profitable because it's just easier to access those. In case of nullsec, you have all the problems that you will have. You will not have those anomalies easily available. And for example, people suggest that you use these needlejack filaments, which basically teleport your ship immediately one direction into random nullsec, and you have no control over that. And yeah, once you are there, it's up to you to find a way out, and finding way out in nullsec means that you will need to find a wormhole, because you will very unlikely find a way by just flying gates. If you do, then even if there is something close, the likelihood that it is camped more or less permanently is very high, and you should not try to exit nullsec this way if you are not certain that there is clearance and that there are no ships waiting for you. So yeah, it means basically that you are way better off finding just a wormhole. And finding wormhole effectively means that it is the same as for you to find a wormhole in a high sec space or low sec space somewhere in a calm low sec area. So it makes no practical difference to go actually to nullsec. Okay, I got some blueprint. I wonder how much this costs, because these are not really appraised properly inside the inventory. They might be. They might be more expensive than, well, it says here that it is 0 ISK, of course. I think I have enough time to spend on one excavation node, extraction node, sorry. Where are the others actually? Oof, yeah. This content is actually designed to be run nowadays by 1 to 3 players. Basically you run this one alone in a cruiser, or 2 players in destroyers, or 3 players in frigates. And that is very unfair, really. If you can play this encounter and bring 3 assault frigates, which who knows what they are doing, it's actually much more easier content. And yeah, as you can see, these nodes, they are designed in such a way that you normally will not be able to get to all of them. So you will have this bioadaptive node, which is basically your default loot for a single player, and then you will have extractions nodes and subnodes that will grant extra loot, which you will be able to obtain only if you have 3 people who will go to different ones and loot different ones at the same time. So it's okay to leave some of them here. You are not supposed to loot everything. And this is partially where this random in loot comes in play. There is some variation, because obviously not all of these nodes contain exactly the same things. Okay, batteries reloaded, guns reloaded, ready for the next pocket. We have 14 minutes left, just on time. But probably second time I would not do this, because it's better to have reserve. Okay, we have a Tyrannus here. I think I saw this encounter already. I definitely want to get out of this red cloud immediately. And this white one, I think it might be a tracking cloud. That would be very, very bad for us. What's that? Signature radius penalty. Oh, that's very bad. Basically, this means that whenever we enter this, we have such a huge signature radius that this battleship will be very easily able to hit us. We need to do something. Actually, I don't know what can be done. Let's try to kite at least cruiser out of this cloud, because one less ship to worry about. Yeah, you can imagine that a frigate or destroyer ending up in this cloud has even less chances of success. Actually, it seems that they are not in the cloud themselves, so we can probably start approaching. So yeah, just carefully position ourselves outside. And reload this, because don't waste time. Boost up. I really don't know if it would be very easy for me to reach them. Probably will get a lot of damage, if not die. Let's again deploy drones and hope that they can distract our enemies a little bit, at least. Also focus on this Lancer, because basically this is the one that we need to kill first anyway. Okay, our tank is almost back, and disable overheating on both, because we already have very high heat in the medium rack. Drones. So yeah, as you can see, I'm trying to keep high relative speed to both of them to minimize the amount of damage that I'm getting. I am also mismanaging my only tank source, which is bad, obviously. I basically have to use Q all the time now, because I need to approach this Tyrannus thing. Oh, no. That is bad. As you can see, this red line, this is the end of the universe, the end of this time pocket. And this is basically meaning that we will have to manually pilot around this thing, not to let it hit us. Without getting outside, we cannot really just orbit thing. Okay, well. So yeah, you can just use Q. And as you can see, it stopped dealing any significant damage to us. So we are quite safe, I guess. Just be careful not to go out at any cost. And we have 9 minutes. 38 kilometers to gate, 56 kilometers to bioadaptive cache. We'll be fine. Don't get to that edge. And keep our relative angular velocity as high as possible. It's out of my webbing range, so it now moves, but since it's a battleship, that it doesn't really matter. Just a little bit annoying. It's a little bit difficult to position yourself with this red thing not being very easily indicated. When you look at it this way, you don't really know how far you are, so you have to do it this way and then rotate your camera. And yeah, if you get out of that range, then you will, well, not instantly, but almost instantly die. I think they copy-pasted this rule basically from Alliance tournaments, which were originally also suicide if you get too far away from the central point. In this case, the central point is this gate. Well, we have some time to loot things, but only this bioadaptive cache, obviously. As I said, Abyssal is very entertaining. The situations don't repeat very often, at least. You will from time to time see encounters that you have seen maybe 5-10 times, because some of them are by design more likely to appear in the same combination. Like, for example, these two, battleship and the cruiser, I saw them, but I think the situation in terms of environment was completely different. It was not like I didn't have those clouds that were causing me so much extra risk approaching it directly. Of course, in some cases you can use those clouds to your benefits, but that requires also NPCs to be of a specific type. For example, if you had frigates, then you want to be inside this signature radius target cloud, because basically you will be still a very easily hittable target for those frigates, but at the same time within this cloud you will be able to hit them that much more that much easier. Like 300% signature penalty is effectively 4 times increment in speed. That's having your micro warp drive on, which makes frigate-sized ships an easy target even for a battleship. So this kind of strategies are very, very useful in abyssal space, and you can utilize different components of it. So on to the last pocket. Overmind. And a frigate. Sparking Eagle Tessera. Well, yeah, that's one drone frigate. That's not a problem. The problem is Overmind. what we have about those in Wiki. It still penetrates me. Glances off. Okay. Are we now closer? Raises. Good. Let's orbit it at 1 kilometer. I think that should be relatively straightforward. Okay, yeah, I basically switched to more or less direct approach and it got a couple of hits. Yeah, it misses me completely. I do penetration. That's the best situation you want to be in against a battleship. Yeah, let's launch drones maybe to speed up the process. Still have just 3 minutes. Maybe we'll be able to loot something extra. But actually I think that would be very unwise if I decide to. I think I should reload this. 3 minutes and a half. This one just does EM damage and it's best to deal EM damage against it. Very good. There is basically nothing else special about this ship, except that it is, as you can see, very beefy. And we have 2 minutes and 40 seconds to finish it off. As you have noticed, those NPC ships have different prefixes in front of them. Those all mean something. In this case it's photic, basically meaning that it does photon damage or electromagnetic damage, basically. That's not the only one, actually. There's also Hadal Abyssal, probably. What else there is about them, actually? You can see resistances. And it has slightly lower shield resistance than anything else in EM and thermal. Oh, that thing dies very slow. I definitely will not have enough time to do anything else than just this bioadaptive cache after I finish it. And probably I want to speed up things by applying extra damage by overheating guns. And overheating afterburner now. 14 kilometers, 1 minute. Oof. That would be very close. Stop overheating. Stop ship. Loot. Stop ship. Approach. What did we get? 1.8. Yeah, so it's pretty much constant drop, except for that blueprint. Let's exit first and then see how much it costs. 20 seconds. And we are out. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And we're out. That was very timely. Whew. Now, let's go to Cheetah.
Warp drive active.
No, we're not going to run this ship for tier 2. That's not going to work. This kind of overheating requirements and damage taken and the risks and very tight time limit, I would say, yeah, this ship is on spot for tier 1 and cannot do more.
Warp drive active.
And I'm flying to run. No, the correct one. Anyway, I guess that would be all that I wanted to test with this ship for now. I don't think that there will be anything really
Docking permission requested.
bad that I want to highlight right now.
Docking request accepted.
So yeah, I guess that will be all for me running the subabyssal spaces, because the profit is really not so good. So instead, I think it would be better to just do some exploration and wormholes. But probably that's a story for another day. Anyway, thank you for watching and see you next time. Fly safe.